That moves us to number 10 on our agenda, the approval of the minutes for the April 18th meeting. Mr. Hogan?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the April 18th, 2024 board workshop meeting.
Do I have a second? Ms. Snipes, second. Any discussion? Seeing none, I will call for a vote. All in favor? That motion carries 7-0. That moves us to 11, approval of the minutes of the April 22nd meeting. Do we have a motion, Mr. Hogan?
Make a motion for the board to approve the minutes of the April 22nd, 2024 board meeting.
Do I have a second? Ms. Snipes, seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? That motion carries 7-0. And that moves us to 12, which is public participation. And before Ms. Taylor calls out public participation, I'd just like to remind the board welcomes and encourages public participation. We respectfully ask that you adhere to the procedures provided in Board Policy BEDH, public participation at meetings. Your comments should be limited to 3 minutes and must remain on either the topic noted on your sign-in form or a listed agenda item. Questions asked during public participation will be handled in accordance to Board Policy BEDH. And Ms. Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have one participant tonight. Kim Murphy is here to speak about bond referendum increased taxes.
Good evening. First of all, taxes will increase if the proposed bond referendum passes. It's disingenuous to represent otherwise. If the referendum passes, taxes will be more for debt service to pay off the debt, and we will pay more taxes to operate our schools. The district says that they will not raise the debt service millage rate, as if that equates to no increased taxes. But just because the millage rate isn't increased doesn't mean your taxes won't. Taxes will absolutely increase because the value of your property that the rate is applied to will be increasing starting this year due to reassessment. Richland County's property values increase will happen this year, and Lexington County's will be next year, and this occurs every 5 years. Secondly, if the board votes at the upcoming meeting to not hold the referendum, or if the referendum fails, your debt service taxes will go down. Without the new debt that the referendum would bring, the millage rate would go down. And the current debt that we will have, which is being paid off, causes that rate to go down. Even though the millage rate is much higher than it needs to be, and that the district has actually been overcharging and over-collecting taxes, the millage rate will go down because existing debt is scheduled to be paid off. If there is no bond referendum that would add $240 million in new debt, there's no reason to change to charge the taxpayer 69.5 mils, and debt service taxes would go down. In addition, if the referendum passes, not only would there be an increase in debt service taxes, but there would also be an increase in operating taxes for the cost to maintain and operate and staff new facilities. This increase is substantial, but the additional costs have yet to be disclosed. So again, it's disingenuous to say that the referendum would not increase your taxes. Another issue is tied to new facilities and capital improvements, which are to be paid for through debt service millage rates, is that the operating millage rate is also much higher than it needs to be. Under the guise of approving an operating millage rate increase to pay our teachers and other operating costs, the funds are actually moved to construction projects. It appears that the district continues the practice of keeping operating millage too high so that they can collect excess revenue for construction, but it's done without telling us. The operating millage rate should go to pay for teachers and operating our schools as it appears on the agenda, as it is represented to us when the operating budget is approved. It should not be used for construction. Although some board members, thank you very much.
I didn't mean to slam that down. It just kind of came down. So thank you, Ms. Murphy.